Test, test. Oh no, it's working now. So
Test, test. Test, test. Test, test. Test, test. All right, test, test. Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 46th Annual Lions Club Chadron Fur Trade Days Parade. I'm Dave Collins, and a really special day we've got for you this Trade Days. So let's get started as the parade making its way here down Main Street from the Chadron State College area. It heads into downtown where folks are lined up along the sidewalks and along the streets here, families and kids ready to get candy and enjoy these floats. But we're going to start today with a special guest. Come on over, Lori. We have Lori Hun with us here this morning to start things off with the parade. And Lori, you were the very first Chadron Fur Trade Days Queen. What an honor. And tell us about how much you enjoyed that honor.
Well, you know, it was a scholarship pageant, not a beauty pageant. No, it was I wasn't going to enter, but my mom and I had a relative who was into history and said, you know, you should try out for this. And it was based on the history of the fur trade. You had to dress in period clothing. So, you know, you had to be very, very knowledgeable of what was fur trade days and how it affected our community.
So this was back in 1981. And do you remember what your fur trade clothing was that day? Do you remember what you dressed up as?
I did. It was a blue and white checkered, just I don't want to say colonial, but a prairie dress that I had. And I had two dresses as I was Fur Trade Days Queen, so I could alter. But they were just that, you know, like Little House on the Prairie type dresses on there.
Exciting stuff. What other things did you do as the Queen of Fur Trade Days? I'm sure there was plenty that went into it in addition to maybe just today's events.
Well, I had to help go pick up buffalo chips. And I had to attend all the different activities.
Okay.
So,
great.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome to have you here and be with us on today's broadcast of the parade. Thank you so much, Lori Hun.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Well, as you can see, I'm going to slide around behind the camera so we can give you guys a great view of today's parade action. And we will commentate on the floats, let you know who's coming by as the presentation of our colors, starting things off here this morning. The Dawes County Veterans Honor Guard. Got some motorcycles, UTVs, and our first sign of candy being thrown out here this morning, and the kids are loving that. Again, it's our 46th annual Lions Club Parade. Rockin' USA is the theme of this year's parade. So, no surprise, we're going to see an awful lot of red, white, and blue here around the 4th of July season, and as part of today's Rockin' USA Parade, Police Department, Fire Department, the Color Guard getting us started off here this morning. Now, as you can see, an old-time fire truck making its way down Main Street. More of our local service folks in the red, white, and blue lights shining and flashing as you'll see them come through. A few water guns as well from the UTV, keeping people cool on this day. Started out really warm this morning. It was about 85 degrees 15-20 minutes ago. It's going to get to 104 degrees here today in Chadron. So a nice toasty morning and afternoon setting up. Chadron Volunteer Fire Department helping lead the way. Boy, those folks are so great, volunteering their time, their efforts to keep our town and ourselves and our property all safe from fire. We thank them so much for their efforts. As more of the water gun activity, Rob Adara with us is running our camera show and equipment here today, Rob, and I hope that water stays clear of our video production equipment as he smiles and kind of laughs with us a little bit. But a big thanks to Rob for coming up today as well and allowing us to do the video broadcast. We've got a bunch of great sponsors as well. Our parade sponsor, Skeeters Napa and Chadron. Also want to thank Edward Jones, Advisor Kerry Bailey, Metal Products Company, Home Haven Furniture and Appliance, and Beggin Propane as the Chadron Rescue Unit and more Chadron Rural Fire District trucks come rolling through here on Main Street. Looks like today in the parade there are over 30 floats and maybe up towards 40. As I get to the last page, it looks like about 40 floats are going to come through and 40 representatives in the parade today. So a nice large showing as Chadron Engine Company number 1 makes its way through. A few more sponsors to let you know that are allowing us to bring you today's parade broadcast. 385 Express Lube, Wallstrom Ford, Security First Bank, H&R Block in Chadron, Hensey Plumbing and Hydronics, Roach Ag Marketing, Quality Tire, and Homestead Bank. All part of the big celebration here today and this weekend. And as we have our broadcast move along today, we'll tell you about some of the other events coming up. There's always a full day packed of excitement here in Chadron for Fur Trade Days. It actually got started all day today. It goes the 9th annual Rob Brown Memorial Softball Tournament. So if you want to come out, watch a little softball, throw some sunscreen on. Thank you, Volunteer Fire Department, once again. Stay hydrated today. Again, 104 our expected high temperatures, so stay hydrated and plenty of sunscreen if you are coming out to the parade. It runs from essentially Chadron State College right down Main Street into the heart of downtown Chadron. So this road obviously is closed right now, and all the side streets that crisscross through Main Street closed off for the duration of this morning's parade. But after that, the festivities will continue. Traffic opens back up. You can head downtown for some fun. The courthouse lawn is where most of the activity will take place outside of downtown during the day. Traders Market opened up at 8 o'clock this morning. I walked down to the station today to get ready for our parade broadcast and took a stroll through the Traders Market. Always some great vendors, food, arts, crafts, fun stuff for the kids, music at the courthouse. Another Chadron Fire and Rescue vehicle helping lead the parade down the street. At noon today, the Chadron Masonic Lodge Pancake Breakfast will wrap up. So if you are still hungry for that late breakfast, maybe slept in a little bit from a long, late fur trade Friday night, getting a late start to your Saturday after a busy, long work week, you can grab some breakfast at the Chadron Masonic Lodge. That's on 4th and Main Street, the pancake breakfast. A little less than 2 hours left in that event here today. See some more super soakers and young kids throwing candy and water balloons out on the fire trucks up the street a little bit. Wind, fortunately, there is a breeze to help us keep somewhat cool. Not the best friend of some of my paperwork outside here today, but that's all right. More volunteer fire department making their way through with the trucks. Watch out for those flying water balloons. Talked with some young kids before the parade started. I said, what's your favorite part of summer? And they told me having water balloon fights. So I bet those guys are having a great time out here today with the water balloons and the super soakers in full usage on this hot Saturday morning of fur trade. Another volunteer fire department truck from the city of Chadron. Beautiful fleet we've got here in town to keep us safe and protected. See one more of the fire trucks following this next pickup on the way, which are slowly making their way through. Might be a Park Service truck we've got coming up here next. I think I see Smokey Bear back in that pickup truck bed. Yep, sure do. Good reminder that during this hot and dry summer here in town, to be careful with those fireworks. Hopefully that all wrapped up pretty much for the summer with the dry conditions. Hope you had a good 4th of July as the U.S. Forest Service comes through. But any type of outdoor burning, be extra careful this summer with those fire pits and campfires and things of that nature. We got to protect our area out here with the hot and dry conditions that we've had so far this summer. Got a nice soaker of rain up here earlier this week, and the lawns really enjoyed that, helping temper down some of that fire danger. But please be careful when you're out and about this summer. How about that big truck? Chadron Rural Fire District water truck coming through. Looks like a decent-sized gap here for the next few floats. Yeah, so we get a chance to let you know what else is coming up here this morning and afternoon. Got wrapped up with the Parade of Puppies earlier today. Coming up at 11 o'clock, the Chadron Chamber of Commerce Ambassadors Barbecue. And that'll be at the Dawes County Courthouse lawn. So an exciting free lunch for the Ambassadors Barbecue. So go over and enjoy that. We've now got our Grand Marshal making the appearance, and the Parade Grand Marshal in his 1920 Samson. That's from the Samson Tractor Company. They existed from 1920 to 1922. There are only 10 of these trucks in the country. So what a cool treat for the parade goers today. Our Grand Marshal of the Fur Trade Days Parade, Russ Seeger, here in 2022. And that's a really neat old truck. Just 10 of those, again, in the country. 1920 Sampson Tractor Company. On our way next, we've got Miss Fur Trade Days of 2022. As she waves to the crowd side to side here, representing the Fur Trade Days Festival, is Caitlin Bowers, and she's with the Miss Nebraska and America organization. She finished top 7 at Miss Nebraska, so a top 10 finish. Great to have local representation finishing up in the top 10 as Caitlin waves to the crowd and representing Miss Fur Trade Days 2022. It was really fun to have Lori, Dr. Hun, talk to us today to start the broadcast. The 1981 original Fur Trade Days Queen, hearing about the duties they've had in that role. Hearing some floats, again, a pretty good gap between these couple, but looks like we've got our next business represented is going to be the Burger Pit. They're going to be set up from 11 to 6, and you can follow them on Facebook today to find out some future locations for these guys. A mobile food truck bringing back legendary Donald's double cheese and much, much more. See when those guys come through. We've got some old fur trade representatives now coming down the parade line. Gotta love the old costumes and representations that these guys put together every year and representing what life a little bit was like back during the fur trade time here in Northwest Nebraska. Complete with the replica muskets and strolling through downtown. All right, now entering our view is our Burger Pit group. Again, this is that mobile food truck I was telling you about, so these guys happy to be back in the parade. Donald's, if you've been around here for a while, legendary food from Donald's. We missed them for a few years, but it looks like they are coming on back as the Burger Pit and more here in Chadron. So folks are going to be excited to hear about that. Looks like a pretty good crowd today here for our Fur Trade Days Parade. Fans lined up all along the main street from Chadron State College into downtown. A lot of lawn chairs and families who have come out trying to find shade. I know people set up chairs the night before for their favorite spots for this parade every single year. Try to look at the weather a little bit, find that shady area, that cooler area, or that great viewpoint. Some of the kids, I'm sure, picked out the spot where they know a lot of that good candy is going to be tossed, and they can stock up midsummer. Once again, we want to thank our sponsoring group for allowing us to bring you Quality Tire and Homestead Bank, 385 Express Lube, Wallstrom Ford, Security First Bank, and H&R Block Chadron, Began Propane, Home Haven Furniture and Appliance, Metal Products Company, Edward Jones, Advisor Kerry Bailey, and our Fur Trade Days Parade. Look, representing those Eagles, we'll have full CSC coverage once again this year, folks. All the football games, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, softball. I'll bring you all that live this year on WQ Country 97.5 and 105.9. Yeah, Chadron State College. Hey, and some familiar faces in the CSC parade. Former basketball legend Taryn Foxen. Also Caitlin Federson. In today's parade, old CSC pickup truck with the flag and the red, white, and blue. Great to see Chadron State College once again here in the parade. CSC founded back in 1911, and they are a publicly supported open enrollment institution serving students from a variety of backgrounds and locations. And I mentioned earlier that Dr. Hun, who was on our broadcast start today, is actually a professor up at CSC. Classics in the Park is our next representative today. Remember the big car show? Every year you can come and check out all those sweet vehicles, trucks, and muscle cars and restoration projects. 1977 GMC 1500 pickup. Looks like we've got a 71 Chevy Camaro and a 72 Chevelle. A 1972 Buick Skylark and a 68 Mercury Cougar represented in this group with some great colors. And boy, people up here in northwest Nebraska and even across the entire Panhandle, there are several car shows during the year, and we get to see these beauties go to Alliance and through Sydney and up here in Chadron at Fur Trade Days. And great time of year, folks get to show off their old school rides and their hobbies and projects and get to take them out in the sunshine for folks to enjoy. That's the Chadron Insurance Mardi Gras appearing to come down the Fur Trade Days parade route next. We've got Chadron Insurance followed by the NPPD group, Nebraska Public Power District, and they're tossing. Kids setting up for those. They are number 41. 31 years. How about that? 31 years these guys have been a part of the Fur Trade Days parade. How cool is that? So much tradition and great history with Fur Trade Days and the parade. People come back year after year after year. People and high school groups plan their reunions around this weekend in Chadron in this event.
We hung out with the great ahead of us. A bunch of those guys are the great ahead of us. That's McGinnis, Steve Andrews, the Reverend Jennifer, and then Billy Chamberlain, Jeff Fox. I think Steve, he's the one I just went to. Randy Williams. Randy Williams usually comes from Omaha and goes with them. Yeah, they've been doing that forever.
All right. We've got a Lions Club representative. How are you doing?
Good. They're at the very end of the parade.
These guys are at the very end? All right, so we got some more information to our very first video broadcast here on PanhandlePost.com. Something we are really working towards bringing more of to you as we develop and evolve our radio company and our video company, our website presence as well. So getting things started this week with the Fur Trade Days Parade, Heritage Days next week here in the Panhandle as well. We're going to have a video cast of that. And then much, much more to come down in the future. So look forward to more video productions here on PanhandlePost.com. Skeeters Napa, our main parade sponsor, broadcast here today. Edward Jones. There's some great information, too, on the Fur Trade website if you want to learn more about the event and go deeper kind of into what this is all about at furtradedays.com. You know, it's really, according to the website and their historical studies and data, the fur trade in northwest Nebraska is, of course, what we're celebrating, and mostly the area part of the Fort Pierre and Fort Laramie sphere of activity. And even, you know, back in the days of the earliest Spanish influence, the trade goods found their way to western and southern Nebraska, and most of that came via the Santa Fe area. Early Spanish trade in the area is supported by some pretty good concrete evidence, and the fur trade has shared some of this information on their site. Lewis and Clark found Spanish knives, and the New Mexican traders themselves also visited at least as far as South Dakota, and that's what they call a pretty reasonable theory. Back in 1806, Pike estimated that Santa Fe traders came to the Pawnee about every third year, and in 1811, a brigade of Manuel Lisa's trappers learned that New Mexicans were trading every year with the Arapaho on the South Platte. But in any event, the Indians of western Nebraska certainly knew about Spanish bits and bridles, axes, knives, lances, and blankets by the year 1800. However, it says Spanish trade that did exist was not well organized at that point, yet provided a limited amount of merchandise for the Indians. Just a little historical context and background. Again, you can find much more at furtradedays.com under the history section. And the NPPD float that I mentioned, they've kind of gone a little bit out of order, it looks like, on some of these details. So I might be ahead or behind, just depending on who comes through. So bear with us a little bit on that. But looks like NPPD's been flipped. And now bringing some of their power trucks on through. The big bucket truck from the NPPD crew. Now you're seeing the Church of Jesus Young Professionals, and somebody just brought me a handful of candy. How cool is that? Appreciate it, my man. All right. Even the broadcasters like that sweet treat, right? So we've got Maurice's coming through now. Feel good fashion for real life. They've got sales every day, all sizes from 0 to 24. They also have girl sizes online, but you can find them down near the main intersection of Highway 385 and Highway 20, Maurice's Clothing. Our broadcast sponsors today, Homestead Bank, Quality Tire, and Rochag Marketing, Hensey Plumbing and Hydronics. And it looks like the Maurice Jeans little dune buggy a little late to the party, trying to catch up with the float. There those guys go, having some fun. And they've found the Maurice's pickup. But 385 Express Lube, Wallstrom Ford, Security First Bank, H&R Block, and Shadron. Thank all those folks and businesses for letting us bring you a broadcast today of the parade. And the dune buggy has turned to go the other direction once again, swimming upstream. I mean, when there's a gap in the floats, why not go cruise around and have a little fun, right? These two dudes sure are doing just that. All right. Big Iron Auctions is next up here this morning. Big Iron, an online auction service, of course. Big Iron number 16 in the parade today. We're not even halfway through all the entries here this morning, so plenty still to come. Big Iron, you can check them out for big heavy equipment, iron items, things like that. And more candy for the kids. I think the big question, I guess, is do you get more candy on Halloween or do you get more candy at Fur Trade Days? That's probably something somebody ought to put to the test, because there's quite a bit that gets launched out here at Fur Trade Days as well. Or maybe if you're not quite through your Halloween stash by midsummer, you come out here, reload until Halloween comes back in October. Again, you're watching our coverage, our first ever video production on panhandlepost.com. Taking in this year's Fur Trade Days parade. Looking at the schedule for later this afternoon. Remember, it's not just the parade, and that's the end. There's so much going on. The ice cream social gets started at 11 o'clock. It's at the First Congregational Church of Shadron, 4th Street and Shadron Avenue, right over by the courthouse. Hey, and our video production man, Rob Adair himself, just got tossed some candy, too. Rob, it's nice that they keep us involved, right?
That's right.
Do you have the numbers like number 12? Was that Doc Gamby?
It was.
Retired?
Yep.
I thought that was him. I didn't call it. Okay.
Coming up today, 11 to 4 o'clock, the Classics in the Park car show, and the awards will be at 3 o'clock. So you've seen some of those classic vehicles come through earlier today. If you're into car restoration, vintage classics, hot rods, all those cool things, you can enjoy Classics in the Park. The car show from 11 to 4 today at Wilson Park. There's plenty of shade there at Wilson Park, too, by the way. A lot of trees, some covered areas to eat. Take a picnic up there if you want. Shadron Senior Center passing through a moment ago. The Shadron Senior Center, represented by Sheila Moats. That's the meal program they're promoting here today. They had good home-cooked meals served at noon Monday to Friday, and they also deliver to over 60 people, it looks like. In fact, $5 is the contribution per meal for the Shadron Senior program. Bank of the West is our next float. Some of that shiny silver tinsel, the decoration on the pickup today. It's where great banking meets positive impact. They've got a mobile banking app, no minimum balance, all kinds of great customer service for Bank of the West. Today at 1 o'clock, the Rotary World Championship Buffalo Chip Toss. And we'll get into more of that here in just a bit. But that's one of the main attractions of Fur Trade Days every single year, right out in front of the courthouse, the 400 block of Main Street. So they will, again, close that part of the street off. And if you have a car or even just walking through, you want to make you don't want to take your car through there. You can't, but you don't want those chips getting tossed up against your vehicle. And if you're walking and watching, look ahead and look above as those things are flying through. Northwest Rural Public Power, we just saw come by. They're representing Electrify and Save with a Tesla 3 today, and also an eco-riding lawnmower and an electric chainsaw as well, all electric powered from Northwest Rural Public District. And if you haven't ridden in a Tesla, they are pretty slick. Our first float with some loud music coming out of it today, trying to pump up the crowd a little bit and getting everybody amped up on this late morning. Platte Valley Companies, the Platte Valley Superheroes are here. The truck and trailer float today. Looks like they've got Batman on back of that Platte Valley Companies float. Throwing out some candy. One of our friends, Rob Vila, tossing out the candy representing Platte Valley. Oh, yeah, take care of us, Rob. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, you betcha.
Appreciate it. All right. We'll find some kids who are going to enjoy that candy here today. Ben Tubbs and John Deere. He's got a 1946 John Deere tractor. That's a 1946 coming through on your screen here in the parade. This is Ben Tubbs. It's a Black Steam and from the Black Steam and Gas Show in Sturgis, South Dakota. Rather, they're actually promoting that show that's coming up August 19th to the 21st. So later, if you want to see some more of the old school equipment, farm equipment and things, the Black Steam and Gas Show in Sturgis, South Dakota is August 19th through the 21st. And you can see more like that tractor that just came by here in the Fur Trade Days Parade. But the Rotary World Championship Buffalo Chip Throw that I had mentioned at 1 o'clock today, you can come up. They literally throw buffalo chips, quote unquote, air quotes around chips. So you can see how far they get thrown. There are actual records kept in this. It's a statewide news story every year, and it's quite the spectacle to see. When I moved up to Chadron about 7-8 years ago, took it in for the first time. It's pretty cool to watch. I have not participated yet. Maybe someday I will throw one of those, but don't really have an area to practice and haven't had a chance to enter the actual competition. Here we've got Rick and Bob Bagansky Ranch represented in an early 1940 International tractor. McCormick Farmall tractor from 1940. It said early 1940, specifically 1945. They've added to the float. The Rick and Bob Bagansky Ranch float. Ranching started with the 1909 homestead over 100 years ago. So if you're a history buff, this is an awesome day, an opportunity for you to watch the broadcaster come down and see these historical tractors and vehicles and folks dressed up in the Fur Trade Day attire like we saw earlier today. Another one of the 1940s tractors, this one from 1942. Kind of amazing when you compare what you see from 1945 and 1942 to what you see when you drive by the big dealers and implement folks here in 2022. An amazing technological advancements we've seen in agriculture and farming over the years, and just fascinating stuff. Coming up next, we've got the Robin Stevens for Re-Election campaign float. Robin Stevens looking for re-election to the 7th District of the Nebraska State Board of Education. And today the entrants are driving a blue Jeep Sahara. It's got all kinds of Robin Stevens representation, and again running for the 7th District State Board of Education. And the State Board of Education, if you're kind of wondering what they do, they support educators, students, and parents, and they provide the policies, the resources that continue to make Nebraska's education system one of the best in the United States and across the world. So certainly an important race to get educated on this year as you get ready to vote in November for the State Board of Education. Group of horse riders behind the Robin Stevens float here in the Fur Trade Days Parade today. One of my favorite sights every summer here in Chadron. Our good friend Rob Wallstrom and his 1958 Ford F100. You can see that cruising around town every summer. Rob brings it out, the blue and the white Ford Classic, and it is one of the coolest trucks that you see in town every year. Family owned and operated since 1961. A supporter of our broadcast here today, Wallstrom Ford as well. Our CSC broadcasts in the fall, winter, and spring too. Rob and his crew, great folks, great representatives of Chadron, Nebraska, and a Fur Trade Days. So Wallstrom, he's got the courtesy transportation sign on that truck. I wonder if I went over for an oil change, they'd let me borrow that for an hour or so as the courtesy loaner wagon. Rotary Club is coming up here in a moment into your screen. Chadron Rotary meets here once a week in town. Another popular organization. A lot of clubs and organizations and ways to get involved here in Chadron in your community. And the Rotary Group, they've got the classic logoed wheel on their trailer this year. And representing community service here in town and the area. Same group out of South Dakota. And our final one, got a white cab, couple of blue stripes. And our fifth and final one is a different trucking group. These guys, does that say, that's Chadron, isn't it?
Sherbarth. Yeah.
Sherbarth, yeah, that's Sherbarth. Sherbarth Trucking, and it looks like a Chadron for them, and it is. That's our local guys right there. Sherbarth Trucking out of Chadron, so nice to have them finishing up the Backbone of America Trucking float here today in the Fur Trade Days Parade. Coming up next, we'll have Western Community Health Resources. They are taking pride in the rock-solid services that they offer, covering the local and regional areas, standing like famous rocks to serve you. WCHR works to provide quality services within the 25 programs that they offer. Looks like this group handing out some nice cold water bottles, candy for the kids like most floats, but Western Community Health Resources again. Last few floats of the parade, Little Angel Grooming, based here in Chadron, owned and operated by Anna Baller, a certified groomer of 7 years. They're in a white Mercury Sable with a rock and roll USA theme. We've got Home Health and Hospice also in the Chadron Community Hospital. Chadron's 25-bed with critical access hospital and ER. Chadron Community Hospital, part of this year's parade. A few folks seeing the end of the parade starting to make their way downtown for more Fur Trade Days activities here this afternoon. Community Hospital vehicle. So Chadron Community Hospital well represented here at the end of the parade here today. Still a few more down at the end there. I can see them off in the distance, kind of lagging behind a little bit, maybe trying to get rid of all that candy before they get down here to the end of the parade. Haven't thrown it all out yet, so they'll be finishing things up in the next few moments here at Fur Trade Days on the parade route. Another Community Hospital representative on the ATV cruising through downtown. Do want to thank everybody who tuned in today to our broadcast. Again, it's our first video cast on PanhandlePost.com. I want to thank Rob Adair, our video production guru for coming us all up. We're going to have a lot more of these type of things coming forward to you on panhandlepost.com. Heritage Days Parade next week will be video cast here for you. And many other events and things in the future that we're working on and working towards. So we thought, why not kick it off with one of the biggest celebrations in western Nebraska every year, the Fur Trade Days Parade. And pleasure to have you joining us for this morning's event. Chadron Community Hospital, Home Health and Hospice, another float cruising through your viewer. Seeing some of that barbecue smoke down the street, it looks like maybe from the afternoon's meal. Remember the barbecue is starting at about 11 o'clock, and I'm trying to see if we're at 11 yet. We are, where are we at here? 11:01. All right, well, if you're hungry, it's time to head down to the Dawes County Courthouse lawn, that Chamber of Commerce Ambassadors Barbecue. I can see the smoke coming off the grills over there, and it is delicious. Come and enjoy some barbecue, grab some lunch, then just head right across the street to the Ice Cream Social at the First Congregational Church of Chadron on 4th and Chadron Avenue. And then the Classics in the Park Car Show continues until 4 o'clock. That just began as well. Another float looks like Mount Rushmore, and some trees represented here on the float. Sign reads, like this famous USA rock, WCHR is rockin' solid. I told you about this one a moment ago. This is the Western Community Health Resources Group. They work to provide quality service with 25 programs. And they're followed up by the Little Angel Grooming Group, the White Mercury Sable, with a Rock and Roll USA theme. They're based in Chadron. Certified groomer of 7 years. That's Anna Baller. Rough and Roll, Rock and Bark, Wash and Roll. That's a great sign that someone designed there for the Little Angel Grooming vehicle. And now the Chadron ambulance is making its way down the street, and I don't think this is part of the parade. I think there might have been a call. Folks getting out of the way and allowing them to come through. And that's a pretty serious look on that driver's face, so hopefully they can get through quickly. The police have opened up the street there, and they are able to get through. Well, hopefully everything okay here in the area as the ambulance comes through to head to where its call was. We've got Swedes Trucking that you just saw come through a moment ago, the ground hay hauling business, and now the Dawes County Historical Society Museum. That our last float of the day. They had to pass through a little bit quick because of the ambulance that came through, so we got a quick shot of those guys. And I say our last float, the Dawes County Historical Museum, but as always, the Big Sky Shrine Club, represented by all the Shriners of Highway 20, they are going to wrap things up with, you'll see it here in just a second as they come down, riding those really cool go-karts in formation, and they will be in your view in just a quick moment. They are representing the Shrine of Hastings, Nebraska.